you know most of the contract, you're a step above and can help a buyer buy a house. If you're a new agent that's never written a contract and you're trying to get somebody to use you, they say, hey, what's section 17? You know most of it. What's that mean? You're like, well, I don't know. Why would I use you? Yeah. So that's why I said you have to pick who your person is. From the very get, from the very start, I say it, and it works. Like you give mine is Chris, and he's a gym guy that goes to the gym 5 days a week, likes shoes, likes fitness, and he's married with 2 kids and wants to move into where they're at. And every day at the gym, I try to have 5 conversations with 5 different people that I have conversations.
Smart.
And sometimes it's real estate and sometimes it's not. You can't always make it about you.
Yeah.
You have to make it about them.
Yeah.
And then they'll make it about you.
Absolutely.
So go to the restroom and then we'll start.
That's perfect. Thank you, sir. I do. I always have to. I only drive one down for
Good.
this when I get there. I'm like, great.
Cool, thank you. So I can just click, okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
It's not like the contract was like, where please do it. And it says it.
Well, without a contract, you don't have a sale.
Right, well, I mean, just.
What is your name? I'm sorry, we've not met.
Erica.
Erica. Okay. So just to give a little bit about me, I've been in the business 4 years. I started as a dual agent, a dual career. So my first year I was working 60+ hours at my 9-to-5 job, and I was doing this as full-time as you could do it, because there's no such thing as part-time real estate. Your other job will suffer at some point. So if you have 2 jobs, I'm not saying you can't keep them and don't do it or whatever, but at some point you're going to realize, if I put the effort that I put into my 9-to-5 in my real estate work, you will make more money in real estate than you'll ever make at your other 9-to-5 job. And I don't care what your other 9-to-5 job is. I made more money in the month of May last year than I made ever in a full year at my other job. So it's there. It can happen. So my first year I did 9 deals, but all 9 deals came from that company. I bought and sold 9 clients that worked with me. It made it very easy because they had the same work schedule that I did. So it was never, they would never call me at lunchtime to go look at a house because they were at lunch and they only had 30 minutes and whatever. My second year I did 13 and only 3 of them were from that company. And then that's when I realized I was ditching out and doing an hour lunch instead of an hour and a half lunch and whatnot. And it got to be, I finally went home and told my wife, I'm like, I need to see if I can make this work. So I did 9, 13. Last year I did 16 and a half for almost $7 million. But you have to put the work in. You know, this isn't something that just, if you're not doing something to make yourself smarter in this industry right now, then you're not doing anything for yourself. So the contract is by far the most important thing, because if you don't have a contract, you don't have a sale. Like and I only tell you to write the contract because I bought my house 55 times when I got my license. So from January 1st until February 1st, I wrote at least 1 a day, handwritten, not on .loop, not on anything. I printed it out. I read through it. I marked in. I used the numbers that I knew. I did it so many times that I remembered the tax parcel number for my house. Now, I don't know it now because I haven't written it in 4 years, but that's how much it was. No, that's on the written contract. So section 17, and then we'll get into the class. Section 17 is your insurance premium. Typically, it's written in our contracts in the state of Ohio that you have 14 days as a buyer to contact insurance companies and for them to have a premium, give you a premium. And it also states that if that premium is not to your liking or excessive, in air quotes, because you might think $100 is excessive, you could think $1,000 is excessive. But both of you are right? What that does, it gives your buyers an out. And as a listing agent, I got burnt twice, where I marked the house pending. We were through inspection contingencies. And day 13, they found a better house that said that the insurance premiums were not what to their liking. So I lost 14 days of marketing. And they got to walk away, and I didn't get the earnest money. Because they were within time to get together. So now, as a listing agent, I made them scratch that out and make it their inspection contingency. So if you write 10 days for inspection, you have 10 days to find your insurance. And if they don't agree to it, then I just put it back to work. Most will agree to it because it's like, okay, that's the deal. Because most agents don't know that they can get out of that. Now, as a buyer's agent, it's good to scratch that out and make it the inspection period because you're showing the listing agent that A, you know the contract, and two, that you're aggressive in trying to get all the contingencies done so you can get to the closing table. Because that's the job. That's our job. As a listing agent and as buyer's agent, we both want to be at the closing table because that's where we live. Without a closing, you don't have any, you have no money. So, off on a rant for a second, sorry. This is Ignite Skill 3, Session 3. Connect with your market. You've seen this a million times. Don't contact anybody that's not on the do not call list. That does not include people that are already in your phone. So if you have a Mary that on public facing stuff has do not contact, but you've already had her because she's a friend or a relative or a client that you spoke to, they've given you permission to talk to them because you're in there, they're in your phone. This is if you buy leads or listings or anything from an offsite thing that doesn't know the people and you've never spoke to them.
It's a question. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
About the main voice leads, but like a lot of them, all their contacts are do not call contacts. What do you do for those? You just been going off their
Is it-
or,
Well, sometimes they don't get emails because I have land voice too.
Yeah.
What I will do, if it's for sale by owners, their information is probably on Zillow. And if that phone number matches the number that you have on land voice, you can call it.
Yeah. What about
Because they-
expires? Because I have land voice too. Maybe you have a lot of.
The expireds are different because that's information that you don't have. But here's my question. If you're trying to solve a problem for them, meaning you're trying to sell their house, do you think they care that you're calling? Your first question is, the script for that is, hey, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, did you know that your house is no longer being marketed on MLS? And they go, well, what do you mean? So today your house expired, meaning that us agents can't see it. I'm a very aggressive agent and I call on you to see if I can help you sell your house. What's changed? And then go into it. I have a perfect script from Glover that I'll give you if you want. I have a whole book that I'll give all of you.
Is it the Glover use scripts?
Mhm.
Plants and stuff? Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, again, that's kind of like the avatar. You have to pick what you want to do. That's the great thing about this is that there's not a real rhyme or reason. Everyone's a niche, right? Lance has Mandarin, right? If you look at 98% of his deals, one of them speaks Mandarin or both.
Yeah.
That's a niche. That's there. If your niche is you're a server at any restaurant, that's your niche. That's your people. That's your avatar. That doesn't mean that you have to help the people that are in just your restaurant. You can market towards people that are tipped and how you can get them approved to buy a house, knowing that their only income is tips. That's marketing. You're solving a problem for what you want to accomplish, which is buy or sell a house. Now, I'll tell you, you want to be the listing agent more than you want to be the buyer's agent. So be careful with those buyers seminars. Right now, it's good because you're just getting people in your database. But if you turn yourself into a buyer's agent, you're going to be running around all of Cincinnati for the rest of your life.
Listing, so I have one showing. The dude's still finishing his house, he's got all these grand ideas and he's changing up stuff, and I'm like, I need you to list for house, so I can put my sign in the door. And text me, he's like, well, are you selling your house? I said, no, I'm just advertising for myself.
You can't do that.
Susan said it was not illegal.
Does it say for sale?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was gonna say, if it says for sale, it's definitely illegal.
The little piece with like my face and my name on it, that's it. Like I don't have any writers up there that's like for sale.
All right, fair enough. You do you, as long as Susan said it's okay. I like the gray line. I flirt that gray line a lot, so that's good. Hey, that's great. Wanting to buy your house? Yeah, see?
It's like, hey, this is actually my personal home, but if you're looking for a home, I am a realtor and I can help you. And I had one person that I actually gonna speak to later this week.
Why later this week?
Because they called it back, they called last week, they told me to call back last Friday. Something for later this week, we're just busy. No, absolutely, they laugh. You know, but
I mean, if they're answering the phone, do what they want to do. That's it.
That's exactly.
But make sure you have all their information. You want an email, you want a phone number, and you want them to respond. So you want to send them something in email that's not off your drip campaign. Send them something that they have to not necessarily sign papers, but like that they have to open and read. Like 10 tips on how I can sell your house better than another agent. And then just figure out a list of things that you can do, get with Chad, that you can sell their house better. And then they open that and they go, oh, okay, Ashley's cool. She's doing this. And then it comes back to you as read. Now you know that's an active email address and you have an active phone address. Now you can put them in your drip campaign. Because if you don't do that, they'll just spam you out and then you're done. So fair housing and all this jazz. I'm not going to read all this. You guys, it's on every class, so we should know. Spark. So who's done the other two? Has everyone done all three so far? Well, you've done, this is your second one? What was your first one? Embrace your job? Who did that one? Oh, that was Becky. So has anyone been to all three? Okay. Did you get anything out of it the first time? Yeah? Okay. Well, we'll try to see if we can give you some knowledge today. So know your market. It's been done in another market. It can be done in your market. Once it's been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that can be possible in your world. It's kind of a quote in the MREA book where it says, I've stood on the shoulders of giants, so you don't have to? You hear a lot of regurgitation in this classroom on a lot of things. Lead gen this, lead gen that, do this, do that, do this. And if you look at the successful agents, most are doing something that has been talked about over and over and over and over again. Once you become a real estate agent and you click on real estate as your job on Facebook, you will get 10 million different avenues of how to make your job easy. There's no easy button. If you're not talking to people, you're not getting closer to your goal, whatever that goal is. Your goal could be one a month. Your goal could be one every 3 months. That's a personal thing for everyone that's in. That number is your number. My goal was 36 this year. I sold 16 and a half last year. It's a pretty aggressive goal. We're a little behind, but we've got a lot in the pipeline that are going to be live. So we'll probably be halfway there by May, which will put me right where I need to be, maybe. If I hit 17 or 18 and do better than I did last year, that's a win. But I'm trying to do the active job of talking to as many people as I can. Everyone needs to know you're a real estate agent. Your sign shows you're a real estate agent. That's pretty brave. I'm not allowed to do that in my neighborhood. They would shoot me. Well, we do. That being said, you can follow agents that are doing something and pick it. That's like everyone that went to family reunion or Stun Mega Camp, or I did Jeff Glover last year. You go there and you learn 75 million things, right? Like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a great idea. Then you come back here and you sit down and you're like, I want to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. And then you implement none of it. What you really need to do is find the one thing that you think you can do consistently every day that moves the needle to where you want to go. So if that's buyer seminars right now, then by all means do it. I was not ridiculing your buyer seminar. Just don't get yourself in the mindset of, I just want to do buyer seminars. Figure out how you can get sellers to sit in your seat and show them how you can sell their houses. Right? Or how you buy their next house while they're selling their house. Because that's what you want. Listings create leverage. For every listing you get, you should get two other pieces of business. And that's if you do it the correct way. So that being said, knowing and connecting with your market is all about research and preparation. So who said they were in yesterday's class? Your name is? Eric. Okay. What? Give me an aha from yesterday, please. Okay. Okay.
And I learned, well, I thought it the first one generate graduate.
Mhm. Knowledge transfer. Yeah, that's where you sign the contract. So I don't know the order of what you're saying as far as that goes, but lead generation is the most important thing. Because again, if you don't have somebody that wants to buy or sell, you have nothing. Presentation is important, especially in this market now, because it shows that you're a professional. If you have a polished presentation or you have a conversation moving the needle towards the outcome that you want, which is to buy or sell and close real estate, it's giving you a professional way of explaining to the person that's in front of you that's asking the real estate question. That's why we don't consider all conversations, right? When in this class and in anything that anyone's going to teach you, when we talk conversations, it's a one-on-one conversation via phone, face-to-face, or text message, where real estate is the subject, right? So like wishing you, hey Erica, happy birthday, and you write back, thanks. That's a conversation, but it's not, we wouldn't mark that down as I had a conversation today for our track sheet. If you wrote me and I said, hey, happy birthday, Erica, and you wrote back, thanks. Hey, by the way, how's the market? Now you've just created a avenue for me to talk real estate and gauge your hotness on selling or buying, right? I'm trying to get people that are ready to buy or sell in the next 3 months, not somebody that's 2 years away. The 2 year away ones, you put them in your marketing, you do your newsletters, you do all that stuff. I'm not saying forget about them. You keep them interested in you, but you want somebody that in 90 days you can get paid, right? We can say that in this classroom. You don't say that outside. You don't be like, hey, are you going to buy in 30 days because I want to make a paycheck? That's not what we do. But in the learning environment and in this office, what you do today shows up 45 to 90 days from now, because it'll be closings and paychecks. So if you close three, perfect example, I'll give a personal example. I closed 3 in February. I have none for March, but I have 2 for April. So what I did in December got me to February, but what I did in January got me nothing in March. Does it make sense? Valid? Who else took yesterday's class? Nobody? It's a journey. It's crazy because every contract or every deal you do gets you one step closer to being that professional, because no 2 deals are the same. None. Even if they're the same price, they're different houses, you're up against a different agent, you learn something or forget something new, and that changes how you perceive to the next one, right? I never wrote anything on the contract about taking out the insurance premium or reducing the days until I got burned as a listing agent. And it cost my client a lot of money. Now we made it back, thank God, and I got lucky in that regard. But it could have been, I could have lost the deal, I could have lost the client and not got a paycheck and made myself look really stupid. Now you don't have to. And I'm not saying everybody has to reduce that. I'm just saying that just shows sometimes your client will not be willing to reduce it. They want that 14 days, right? But at least when you have that conversation and they don't know that they could have done that, it shows them, okay, I have an expert in real estate helping me get to the finish line, which is what we want. I'm going to go back to this quote. Set up the right system. Kind of can do this on my own, not without this book, but okay. So today's class is know your market. Knowing and connecting with your market is all about research and preparation. What does, Ashley, what does connecting with your market mean to you?
Knowing, I'm a Blanchester girl, knowing the Blanchester statistics and hoping, people figure out what's going on. Or seriously setting how much appreciation is I can have a year for Cincinnati is like 5 to 8%, Blanchester is like 4.1. A bit of a difference, but it's still above the national average. But getting out there and just being proactive kind of loans agent Lancaster and just getting to help people that live there, what they're looking for.
So is Blanchester more of a move into or move out of? And I know the answer I'm asking you. I grew up in that side. I went to Felicity, so I know Blanchester.
You don't want to stay there your whole life. It's more like your blue collars and your rough necks out there. So you definitely want to make that little pit stop and then get the hello out of there on something.
No, I like it. Good.
But I mean, it's a good spot. I mean, it's not terribly priced over there as it is in other areas, but still.
So part of your market would probably be West Claremont, right? Amelia and that, because that's the move out of from Blanchester to Amelia and that. Batavia. We like that. The other Chad term is good. I like that term. Perfect.
I want Goshen and Fayetteville and Wilmington and like those areas, because even Goshen's nicer than Blanchester.
Here's what I would say. If you're doing buyers, you want to be as close to you where you want to be as you can, because you don't want to drive. Now, price point matters too, right? Someone wants to buy $1 million house, I'd probably drive to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. That's worth $30,000. I will not drive to Cleveland for a $150,000 house because you're going to spend gas and you don't know near enough about that. Listings, you can go further out. You can drive 2 hours or 3 hours to go get a listing, because once you have the price, that's it. And you can call, there's an agent between here and 2 hours away that you can call and ask what the comps would be, as long as it's Keller Williams agent, and they'll probably help you. And if they won't help you, then you just find somebody that will. So in that regard, knowing the stats about Blanchester is perfect. But again, it depends on your avatar. If your avatar is trying to get people to move out of Blanchester because they want to improve their housing, they want to be in a better school district, they want whatever it is, right? They don't want land, they want urban, city, suburban life. Then you need to know those stats too. What? Well, I'm just saying, people are people. You could never get my wife to move. I have 5 acres that I could move on and build right now in Felicity.
Oh man, that's my wife. We're looking at 10 right now.
And my wife wouldn't move to Felicity if the house was paid for. Like, for real. Like, it's just not her cup of tea. Nor do I really want to be back in Felicity either. But anyway, that's why that avatar is so important. And anyone that's taken a class last year, I said the same thing. I said the contract thing last year. I say the avatar. If you sit down and spend some time with yourself on who you want to help, it makes your conversations easier. Because that's the name of the game. Everyone that's in your phones, and I say this a lot too, want to hear from you. Right? That's connecting with your market. Your market is your phone right now. Not necessarily Blanchester. Not everybody in your phone lives in Blanchester. And that's okay, because you can make money everywhere else. Do you know that most clients or friends do not know that you can get credit for a sale in any state or part of the world? I had a buddy that bought a $950,000 condo. I was like, why didn't you say something to me? He's like, you don't have your license in Florida. I know. I was like, I know, but I could have found you the agent that does and got 30%. And he's like, you would have got $10,000 for just giving me my name. And I was like, yeah. And they would have treated you better because they know that you have an agent that's got their back. So from now on, he's calling me to have, if he wants to buy a rental property or a real estate property. People, I got to turn this down a little bit. Barely. They're killing me. So that being said, becoming the real estate expert is all about knowing your market and connecting with the market in a unique and consistent ways. Generally speaking, you can know market factors on a micro level and a macro level. At macro level, you'll know what's going on in the city or metro area you live in. On a micro level, you home in on a specific facts about neighborhoods or certain parts of town where you'll be focusing your efforts. Sharon came to me yesterday. She wants Land Voice. She asked me if I had a way of finding out neighborhoods that have had their houses for 10 years. So any neighborhood where anybody that's had their house for 10 years, can I get that information? And I said, I have the neighborhood search where you could search a neighborhood and it will give you how many bedrooms and all that. I think it also shows the equity. I'm not for sure because I bought it and I don't play with it. I'm too focused on trying to get people that I know to do things than opposed to trying to get people I don't know right now, right? If you focus with the people on your phone and in your phone that know you, you're probably going to do better than trying to reach a net of people that you don't know. And that's just coming from experience. Now, that doesn't mean that there's people that can cold call every day and get 5 or 6 leads and get closings and all that. If that's you, then go for it. That's why you have to pick what's for you, right? That's what's so great about this industry is that there's something for everybody to do to where they connect with their people. I can't remember what the girl's name was. She was a manager, a bar manager at what's the place next to Dewey's Pizza in Sycamore? Deshays restaurant. And we had an hour and a half conversation on the phone about those are your people, your bar patrons, your workers, and your suppliers. Don't do that. It's bad time. Thank you, soldier. Um, and that connected with her. She's like, you're right. I don't need to go out and find 50 million people. I just need to find 20 people that will say, hey, she's really good at her job and she's really good at real estate. You should try her. And if one person out of 20 gives a name, that's 20 names, right? Your goal is to just get people interested in you as a real estate agent and know that you know what you're talking about. And then the rest is easy. The rest, once you've asserted yourself as the expert, the conversation is just a conversation. That's when you call and wish them a happy birthday and see how the family's doing and everything else. And they go, wow, Ashley didn't say anything about real estate. She really cares about it. Now, in the back of your head, you're going, that's touch number 3, touch number 4, touch number 5. Now you're like, hey, who do you know that I can help buy or sell real estate? That's connecting. That's it in a nutshell. You know, I went to Glover in August last year. Mark and I did, and there was a guy in there that posts video happy birthdays. So Facebook will tell him, hey, it's Joe Smith's birthday. He gets on his phone, pulls up Joe Smith if it's in his phone, pulls the video, flips the phone around, and sings happy birthday or says happy birthday or gets all excited and whatever. And I'm going to tell you, it works. I haven't gotten a deal from it yet, but people write and go, "That's the best birthday I've had today." That's a win.
I did that for a friend.
Be,
Yeah, yeah, like,
exactly. You do it for everybody that you have that's in your phone. I'm not saying try to creep out and find somebody's phone number and then do it because that's not going to win. That's not going to work. But if you're friends on Facebook and you have their phone number, they want to hear from you, right? They don't. We're in a politically charged era right now, so I suggest probably not being political or apolitical or whatever. Coming from me, that's hard to say because I'm very political. But anyway, but I see. I don't agree with that because I think we should be able to have conversations. And I said this yesterday. If if we're on opposite sides and you don't want to talk to me because you don't like me because I'm on the other side, then I don't need to work with you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I take away like when I'm sitting down with you, I'm not having a political conversation with a client. End of story, right? Now, if the client brings up something that we're on the same side with and whatever, and I agree, then that's a different story. But when I'm on Facebook or I'm on my personal space, I should be now. I shouldn't be allowed to say whatever I want to say, but I should be allowed to have an opinion. And my opinion is as right as anyone else's. Right. That's exactly what it is. And that's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to, it doesn't have to be combative. It doesn't have to be combative, but it's Facebook is a way to show your personal life.
but there are some people who will not talk to you at all, or who will treat you different if you're
And in my mind, I think that just need that then you don't need to be a part of their world. I mean that just makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, this used to be we could talk about politics and nobody was doing anything. Now people want to jump off the building because you said something or whatever, and it's just crazy. But anyway, like getting back to it, like that's what I'm saying. You got to connect with your market, however you feel that that's doing it. Like it could be, the birthdays are a good thing. Like I said, I go by the book a little bit on this, and I go out on my own because the book gets regurgitated and people it goes in one ear and out the other. But if I give you one piece that you say, hey, wait a minute, that might work, try the birthdays. Write down today's date in your book and say, I'm going to do 10 birthdays. And then when you do 10, come back and report to me what the experience was with the 10 people that you did video birthdays and tell me it wasn't a better experience. I guarantee it was. And I've done it. I've done it when I woke up. Like literally, I'm in bed laying down, like not dressed up, not professional, not anything. Like, hey, Darren fan, this is Chad Warman. I hope you kick butt today. I'm just rolling out of bed. I saw it was your birthday. Happy birthday. Love you, bro. Literally, that was one that I just did. Darren's birthday was like a few days ago. And he wrote back and he's like, dude, that was so awesome. And it's like, now, I don't know if 25 agents did that for him. He's a lender. He has he's not doing the chance that I get anything from him other than being a friend is slim to none, right? But it's still the consistency of doing it when it's there because then you might hit somebody when you've done it 20 times and the 21st person you look at it and you go, oh, I don't know if I should break this guy or this person because I haven't talked to him in 8 months. But your brain says, wait a minute, you've been doing this and you do it. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I'm moving back from California. That's what happened. This guy called this guy. He lived in California, hadn't talked to him in 8 months, actually 8 years. They were army buddies. Reached out, said, hey, man, I am so sorry. I'm the worst friend in the world. Happy birthday. I saw on Facebook it was your birthday. I hope everything's going great. I'm in Virginia killing it in real estate. Let me know if you have anything. The dude legitimately called him like 5 seconds after he sent the video and was like, you'll never believe this. I'm moving back to Virginia. Reach out. Don't say anything about real estate. The first conversation needs to be, hey, I'm a bad friend. If they're a friend, if they're just someone that you haven't spoke to, then then you got to figure out a different connecting point, right? But if you legitimately thought of them as a friend, they might not be a friend now, but if you legitimately thought of them as a friend, you look in your phone and say, man, I haven't wrote this person. And then you just say that. Like, hey man, I saw it was your birthday on Facebook. I am the worst friend ever. I apologize. I hope everything is going well. Let's meet for coffee. Let's let's connect. Can I call you and see how you're doing? If they're in another state or another city or something. And you just sit down and talk. And then you talk about their life. Nobody cares about you at the beginning. And that's how it should be. You are trying to get something from them. They're not trying to get anything from you, right? And if they are in a position where you can give them something, if they're in a business or they own something or a hairdresser or whatever, then that's where you connect and give them something, right? Like the book that you fill out for Bold. If you took Bold this year, there was, I believe, 3 or 4 pages of doctor, lawyer, hairdresser, uh, teacher, kids teacher, old workers, old employees, whatever. I mean, there was 3 pages of all of that. If you spent a week going in there and writing down someone that you know and all of that, and then reaching out to them, you'll probably get a deal. And one deal is better than zero. That's why I say people come to me and go, well, why won't you join the team? Well, I've already done enough to where I don't need to join the team. But if I was a new agent and I was getting zero deals and I wasn't able to figure out how to get somebody in my phone to do it, I would probably join a team. Because giving somebody 50% of something is better than zero of 0%, right? It sounds crappy when you make $13,000 commission and you got to give 6,500 and then whatever, and you end up with $4,000. But $4,000 is better than zero. And I'm not sitting up here and saying join a team. I'm just saying you have to change the wiring in your mind to think, what can I accomplish with this or that to be where I want to be in a year or 2 years? And if that's a stepping stool and you do it for 6 months to learn the processes and the systems that make you successful, then it was worth every dollar that you paid. Because you'll get an email or you'll get a text message or you'll get a Facebook thing from somebody that says you don't have to do anything that anyone that's old told you you have to do. Just click on me and pay me $500 and I can get you 35 listings. We've all seen it. Has anyone paid $500 to get the 35 listings? No, because they don't believe it's going to happen. But what I'm telling you right now, if you do, you will make it. Now, it may not be 100. You may not sell 100 houses because I don't know how many people are in your phone, and I legitimately don't know how many conversations you're having. But if you have 20 conversations a day, you should get 2 appointments a week. That's 100. If you talk to 100 people a week, you should net, and that's bad if you think about it. That's 2%. You're only converting 2%. But what would 2%, 2 appointments a week equals probably 25 closing. That's it's in the numbers. You can reverse engineer it back to what it is. So you touched on knowing your market in Blanchester. Where's your market?
What?
Where do you where do you want to buy and sell real estate? That's not it. I need an answer. Give me a city. Where do you live? Okay, that's a good area. That's a hotbed. And the houses are cheap enough that most people can move there. Okay. So who's moving into or out of Forest Park and Pleasant Run that you can help?
Um, people like a Pleasant, people Forest Park, the Pleasant Park.
Okay,
Mostly Pleasant Park. There's a lot.
what's the average price point in Forest Park?
I would say
Okay, okay, so that's a good, that's $6,000. Every house you sell in Forest Park is $6,000. Now, I say this with numbers just to make you guys realize. The first thing you have to forget is numbers. When you're talking to your client, you can't have, oh my God, I need this guy to buy a house because I got to pay my mortgage. The minute that you think that commission is more important than the person that you're helping, you've lost it. And I wholeheartedly mean that. That's not some BS where like, oh, it's easy for you to say because you sold 16 houses and made money last year. It's hard. Trust me, it's hard. I went 4 months without selling one house. If it wasn't for my wife being a principal, it would have not been pretty. And it wasn't pretty to begin with. So it's not all bells and whistles sitting up here because sometimes you have really, really good months where I sold 11 houses in May. And that check was bigger than I've ever cashed a check in my entire life. Hell, it was more than my wife made in a year. But if you don't do what you need to do with that money moving forward, then it is what it is. So the year before I had May, that was the bad year. Now this year has been kind of easy. I didn't sell any last month, January, because of what I did in December. I had some in February, but I didn't do anything in November. So consistency is the key. And what I tell you, the reason that I say this about lead generation is there's and Michelle has been in this, listened to me teach a few times, and she will tell you this. You have to find what you are comfortable with. Michelle hates calling people. She will not call anybody. She will say she's going to. She will say that she's going to do this or do that, and she doesn't do it. Now, I don't know if she's figured a way to get over that or not, or if she's found a different way. And I'm not picking on you. I'm just using you as no, I don't want you to think that I'm picking on you. I'm just making it an example. There's going to be people that sit up here and say you need to call for sale by owners because they're the most active sellers, right? But if you call for sale by owners and you don't want to do that, and you wake up and you go, I do not want to call and I hate this and blah, 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 and you're never going to like it, then don't do it. Because at the end of the day, it's never going to work. You're going to wake up and you're going to go, you know what? I want to go clean the house. I would rather clean the house than call for sale by owner. And you're not going to get paid cleaning the house. So find what works for you. And the easiest thing I can tell you is everyone in your phone is an easy person to talk to because they're in your phone. Why is it so hard to call a friend even if you've not talked to them in 6 months? That's bad that you haven't talked to a friend in 6 months. End of story. Whether they buy with you or not, it's just bad karma to not reach out to somebody that you thought in your mind was a friend or an acquaintance. There's no harm in it. And if they say, oh, you're just a real estate agent and calling me, say, okay, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I really haven't talked to you and I apologize. And then next month I'll call you again and see how you're doing. You might have to wear them down to the point where they're not thinking that you're just doing it for something. And then there's some that may just bring it to you. Like, oh my God, I saw you the other day on so that listing that you posted. I'm so proud of you. I'm really excited for you. And by the way, I want to sit down and talk to you about it. I'm not ready right now or whatever, but let's have lunch or let's have a drink or let's have coffee or whatever. Now you're in. Now just don't forget to call them again. I mean, it literally is that this job is not hard. It's just not simple. And there's a million different ways that you could go and slice the cookie and do it to where it works for everybody. That's why it's so great. I mean, look, all of us are different, but we all have however many are in your phone are completely different than the people I have in my phone. And they're probably pretty different than what you have, she has in her phone, and what Ashley has in hers, and what, I'm sorry, what is your name? Mary. I will never forget that name. My mom's name was Mary. So I apologize. Michelle is the same way. We all have, I mean, we may have some numbers that match because we've crossed paths with people and stuff. Funny story is Michelle and Bruce have a client that goes to my gym, Matt Hilton. Her and her husband love Michelle and Bruce, and I still mess with them every day and try. I take pictures with Matt and send them to Bruce and then say, I'm trying to get them. I'm gonna get them. You watch, they're gonna sell their house. Now, I will never do that because I love Michelle and Bruce, but I mess with them. It's fun and games. But the chances that we're in this room or in this office and know the same exact people is far to none. But what I can tell you is every list that you get for the numbers that are calling that you don't know, everyone has them. And there's people that are way better at calling and talking to somebody and telling them to sell their house with them than what new agents are. Does that make sense? So the easiest thing for new agents is their phones and the people that their phones know. Right? The script that I told during Glover, if you have the Glover scripts, you have this. Hey, Mary, this is Chad Werman, your realtor. I have a goal of selling 36 houses this year in greater Cincinnati. Who do you know that needs my help?
Question, just because of curiosity, so families using another real. I don't think
You
so
can't.
long as you trust them and
You can't hate them.
you, I can't call you back. What do I do in a situation of that and saying, hey, if you ever hear of anybody though, or tell them to give me a call versus them? How do you
Just say it.
that like that?
Just say it. The worst he's going to say is, no, I'm going to give them to her because I really appreciate what she's done or what they've done for me. But if he treats you as a family member, if we don't ask for business, nobody's going to give it to us. Period. Connection or not, you could be you could know Blanchester backwards and forwards. But if you don't ask somebody to use you or have somebody give it, I had a buddy call me, Miss Nancy. I just sold their house in Monroe or in Fairfield Township. My buddy writes me. The text message said, Chad, my grandma met with an agent she does not trust. Do you sell houses in Fairfield? Now, as an agent, that's funny, right? Like, do I sell houses in Fairfield? My first question was, what's the address? So I Googled the address and I was like, yeah, I'll sell your grandma's house. It's a nice house. Now, I probably would have done it regardless. But I said, of course I sell houses in Fairfield. I would love the chance to talk to her. Give whoever is doing the thing my phone number. I instantly sent him a $10 um, Starbucks card and said, thank you for the referral. Have coffee on me. Hope to hear from her soon. I waited a week. He even wrote me and thanked me for the gift card. But I didn't hear from the mom and I didn't hear from the grandma. So I reached back out and I said, hey, I said, did your grandma figure out her house? And he goes, no, you're supposed to call her. I said, you didn't give me their information. You said they were going to call me. So his mom, he literally called his mom and was like, Mom, I'm sorry. I thought I told him to call you guys. I didn't give him your information. She called me like 5 minutes later. I had a 45-minute conversation with his mom. I was very hesitant on meeting his grandma at her house. She's 82. I'm big, but he couldn't meet me there because he lives in Amelia and she lives in Fairfield. He's got 2 kids. And he's like, Grandma will be okay. She hugged me and gave me a kiss on the cheek when we closed on her house. That's what it's about. If you do what you're supposed to do in your world will give you what you're supposed to have. End of story. And you reward for the action, not the outcome. So if someone calls you and says, Joe Smith gave me your name, Joe Smith should at least at all minimum get a thank you card for referring, because that thank you card means something. They know that now you know that they're there. Now, a gift card goes a long way, even $10. That's a cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee that they get. And when they swipe that card, they remember you. And they're like, man, I'll give her another one. Perfect example. A brother reached out to me on my website. I've never had this happen. This is why Command and me have to get connected. I almost missed it, but I got a commission check and it told me I needed to change. My compliance was off, so I had to go into Command to change the paperwork because Ann was doing something. And it said Austin Smith sent you a message. So I click on this and it was like, hey, Peyton and Megan Marshall gave me your name. My wife and I are busting at the seams in our old house. It's too small, and we had a 3-month-old baby. We would love to interview you for the job of selling our house and buying us a new one. So I emailed him because he left me a valid email. I called him and I texted him. Never didn't hear anything. So I wrote Peyton and I said, hey, is this guy your brother? Because they have the same last name. And I was like, or is it a relative? And he's like, no, it's my older brother. He's going to call you. He's been busy with the baby. No problem. I went out and bought a $50 gift card to Cheesecake Factory and sent it to them because I was almost 100% sure that once I sat down with them, that I was going to get a buy and sell. And Megan works with my wife at Deer Park Elementary as an intervention specialist. And I walk by her desk every time I go visit my wife. And guess what? Thank you for the gift card. We're going to dinner there Friday. Do you think she's going to send me somebody else? It's that easy. And you don't have to do anything other than just be present in their lives. That's it. That's connecting.
I know some.
So connect and retire. Connect. So what? Just reach out. Who cares? They can use whoever they want and you can't get mad. But reaching out and having a conversation that you've changed careers and retired and become a real estate agent and find out what's going on in their lives, there's nothing wrong with that. No agent in here is going to get mad. They might get their feelings hurt if the person uses you as opposed to the other person, but who cares? If you've done more to get somebody to do something with you than that person, then no one can complain. Yeah. The first conversation should be about them. I'm a bad friend. I haven't reached out. What's new in your world? If you ask questions to ask what's going on in their world, they'll definitely ask what's new in your world. And then that's when you say, funny you asked that question. I'm a real estate agent. And I'm calling just to see if there is anybody you may know that may be able to help me get to my goal. And if they say no at the time, say, okay, great, thank you. I'm going to make this a routine and I'm going to call you in a month or two and just see how you're doing. That's it. And then you just make sure that you call. Because if you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you might as well have lied to them. You might as well have just called and said, are you buying or selling your house? No, click, hang up the phone. Because that's what it's about, right? It's the same exact thing. Don't be fake, be real. Exactly. You can call for sale by owner 5 times. But if you forget to call him the 6th time, that might be the time that you lost the deal. Because the average is 6, I think they say, right? But do you stop at 7? You call until they tell you stop calling me, right? You call until they tell you to stop calling me. That's a joke. I mean, you don't want it to get, no one's gonna get a restraining order if all you're doing is calling to ask to sell their house. If they haven't sold their house by the time you've called the 7th time, they probably should use an agent. And that should be your conversation. I've called you 7 times. Your house has been on the market for 2 months. You've not gotten any offers. Give me 30 days to sell your house. Sign the paperwork. Let me get to work today. I can have pictures today. I can do everything. I will pay for it all, and I will have your house sold by the end of the month. If not, I'll walk away and you can own the pictures. Would you give $130 picture package to get a $6,000 check? And now Next Door Photos makes it very easy because as long as you're positive on your bill, you can put the pictures on your office bill for the next month. Yeah.
There's like 1.3 million. But I'm intimidated.
Why? Why?
Because I mean, you know.
What's the difference between a 1.3 and a $250,000 house?
But what do you recommend that I go for? I don't know.
Just do it. Do whatever you want to do. That's like Emily Smith said she hands out chocolate for her door knock. And I looked at her and I said, what would you do if I knocked on your door and you didn't know who I was and gave you a piece of chocolate? She said, what do you mean? I said, if I knocked on your door and said, hi, I'm a real estate agent, and handed them a card and there was a Hershey Kiss, would you eat the Hershey Kiss? Hell no, you're throwing it in the garbage. Nobody wants a piece of candy from some stranger. Now you're a white van with no windows. Knock on the door and just say what you're there for. I would love the opportunity to sit down with you and have a conversation on how I can sell your house. Is it overpriced? No. Well, it's still overpriced. If it's not sold, it's still overpriced. So with that conversation, you have to tell them, you have to find out their pain point. So perfect example is you knock on the door. I would actually send them your information. If you don't want to dress the part or you don't want to go buy new clothes to look like. Do you know what I hear? Can I be real for a second? You're using excuses. Okay. You could go to Target and buy a nice maternity anything and go knock on a door and say that you're a real estate agent. So stop. You either want to do it, because it will provide you more money than you've ever made on one transaction. But you need to know your stats. So if the house is $1 million house and it's listed for 1.3, you have to convince the seller to come down $300,000. And the agent before you was not able to do that, or the house would have been sold. There's no difference. Be as studious as you are about Blanchester, about this house. We can go to my office after this class and I will sit down and we'll do the address and see what it is. And I'll coach you through every step of the way that I can do it. Then sit down with Chad. Tell Chad that you want him to help you sell this $1.3 million house. There's nothing to be afraid of. And if they say no, who cares? Does that change anything about what's happened or what you're going to do? No, it's there. That's what it's about. So we got to move a little faster. I like to talk. Three types of real estate markets. You have a buyer's market, which is more than 7 months of inventory. We're in a balanced market from 5 to 7 months of inventory, and we're in a seller's market of less than 5. Who can answer the question of what market we're in right now?
So is that, not, they're sitting on the water for less than 5 minutes?
Inventory is anything that's active or pending of that month. So if you have 12 pending and 14 come active, that's a supply. You've got a supply there. So it's days on market and how many come off and how many go on at the same time. Right now, we're at like 3.5 months. For every house that's sold, three are active.
So they count.
Yeah, you have to. Because pending's not sold.
Yeah.
So that's why when you do your CMAs, you want 3 actives, 3 sold, and 3 pending. The pending are hard because you don't know if they're pending, you don't know if they got asking price. And that's when you call and ask the agent.
Do you do that?
I do. I just say, hey, I'm lucky enough to have a house in the neighborhood that's going to be coming active. I don't need the full price. Did you get close? Did you get asking or whatever? And they'll say yes, close, or whatever. Some of them might say no. But I mean, if they say no, then you just assume that it sold for the asking price and just move on your merry way. You're not allowed to call. If a buyer or seller has a written agreement with another agent, you as a licensed agent are not allowed to interact with a client. That's illegal. And it's frowned upon. Now, if the client comes to you and says, I work with Emily Smith and I can't stand her, you can say, get out of her contract and I can help you. But you cannot make that call and say, how's Emily doing? It has to be expired. When you get the expired phone number on land voice or whatever, that's why that script says, did you know that your home is no longer for sale on the MLS? And they go, well, no, what are you talking about? I'm listed with, and you can say, no, as of yesterday, that listing has been expired and it's no longer active. It's no longer active in our world. Are you re-interviewing people to sell your house? I have a script. I'll give you a script book that Jeff Glover has, and expired. That's his claim to fame. He does like 75 homes from expired homes a year. He's the man. If you want to follow anybody in real estate as a new agent, it should be him. And if you're going to buy any class or do anything other than what Keller Williams has you do, Sales Rocket is it for $500. Jeff Glover, gloveru.com. He's got an app. He's got it all. Flies on a private airplane. He makes $1 bazillion. He's the man, but he sells 100 houses a year and has for 18 years. It's all regurgitated, but it's nice hearing it from somebody else. And Sales Rocket's cool because it's videos. So you watch the video and you do it. That was part of my 76 hard challenge that I did. And it works. And it goes, the 36 videos are from step 1 of just being an agent all the way to social media, how you should write your copy, how you should internalize. It's worth $500. And you can go back to it anytime you want. It's you log in. When you do the 76 hard challenge, you have the accountability because you have to post every day that you did the homework and everything else. I paid $1,000 for the accountability. I paid $1,000 to join the 76 hard challenge. And Sales Rocket was $500, $495, and then $25 for the book, or you can just print it out, however you want to do it. But I got my $1,000 back.
What's 76 stand for? 76?
It's just like the fitness. You know, the book, the 76 hard, 75 days hard, 75 hard.
I actually don't.
Well, there's a fitness book that's called 75 hard. You can Google it right now. I don't know the author, but it's you for 75 straight days, you have to follow a diet. Whatever diet you pick, that's it.
It's like 60 some days you have to do something.
So right now we're in a seller's market. What did you say? No, the 66-day command challenge. If you don't know command, you should probably follow that too. I'm actually going to do that. He has like 17. This is like command 66-day challenge for 14.0 or something. So you can Google that guy, and he has other challenges that are in there. And that works too. Every day is a different, shows you a different thing on command. And eventually you get to like doing paid ads and all that. I haven't got that far, but that's where it's at. You missed, I almost missed a lead on my website because I don't ever get on command. So we got to figure this command thing out because I'm losing money.
Yeah, same.
I had somebody reach out from my website. I've never done that. Like this was a first, and it was somebody that gave a referral. Like my client gave a referral and they went to my website. They didn't even contact me. So that's why I'm saying that is people that get your information are already searching you and Googling you before they even have a conversation. Just remember that. Inventory is the number of properties for sale within a market. What's the inventory of our market? What's the average number of days a home stays on the market? What is the typical price a home in your market sells for? Based on the inventory, what type of real estate market are you in? We all agree, I think we're in the seller's market for most of it. Probably changes in Blanchester. So there's no list price and you're above or over asking price? Or are there concessions or whatnot? I would dig deeper into that if that's your market, I would dig deeper into those numbers. I would go back, you could do a standard search in your MLS and go back 1 month. So go from January 1st to February 1st of 2025. And if there's no houses that have been sold, then go back to December and do. I'm just saying, I don't know how many are sold. I'm just saying, and look what the listing price was and what the sold price was. If it's under, you're probably coming more to a balanced market.
We're pretty much like even or a tad under because we were like over.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's coming down. That's why the shift book is being so replicated right now. But it's legitimately how it is. And typically real estate is cyclical anyway. It goes up and down. So the shift just makes you realize that no matter where you're at, there can always change, and it doesn't change. We're the first to know, but the last to be able to explain it, right? The last people that find out about it are the people that are trying to buy or sell. When the shift happens and you have sellers that think their house is worth 400 and now it's worth 350, you have a problem.
So that's kind of how we look at it. Like, way over asking, then it's definitely going to continue to be a seller's market.
So what do you tell your sellers? If you were selling my house, what would you tell me right now if I was selling my house at 123 Main Street in Blanchester?
That pretty much what you put your house on the market for is gonna be sold at that.
So let's shoot for the moon. I want to list my house for 450. Good answer. And explain why. You always want to be competitively priced because you'll get more offers to raise that price up than you will starting at a very high price and trying to work your way down. Because the longer it stays on the market, we look bad. Not as agents, the seller has to explain why it's been on the market so long. And then the first thing that happens is one house that sells in a neighborhood or something right next to your house for less money. Now you have it proof in the pudding. And then you switch it on the seller to say, why are buyers, would you buy your house for this price? Like ask them that legit question because typically most sellers are buyers. And most sellers want the highest price they can have on their house and what? And it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way, ever. I would take the, so there's few people, yeah, the way that I would handle that is I would say, Mr. Seller, I really oppose this. But if you're willing to give me 30 days to sell it at this, and then you're signing a paper that says we are reducing the price by this. And it's under what I'm suggesting now. So like, let's say they think their house is 450, you say it's 365. I'm gonna have them do a price reduction at 350. And if they don't sign that, say, thank you for your time. I'm not the agent for you. Because what's gonna happen, it's just gonna sit, you're gonna spend money, and then you're not gonna get it. But I will always take the listing and as long as they sign that, because the sign in the yard gets you more business. And if you do the things that you're supposed to around your listing, door knock the neighborhood, tell them that you're live, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do, that one listing might create more listings. And then that one doesn't matter as much. Right? But if you only have one listing and you've only got one sale coming and it's that one and you've let it sit on the market for 90 days and it's not moving and your client's not budging, you're spinning your wheels. So I always will say, I will do what you want it to do, and I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping we get 400 and everybody's happy. I may even say, if we get 400, I'll reduce my commission to 2%. So then you're saving the money. Because again, some people are going to say, oh, we need to know your value, right? That's easy for somebody that makes $1 million a year to say they need to know their value. When this is your only deal, 2% is still better than 3% or 0, right? 2% is better than 0%. Remember that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you control what you want to do in your business, right? And if it means reducing it to get somebody to sign, but say if we sell it for 400, I was so wrong that I will reduce my commission by 1% to 2%. But if you sign the paperwork to do the price reduction at 350 after 30 days, my commission goes back to 3% because I was right. And now this is going to be a problem. You've just made my job harder to sell your house because it's been on the market for 30 days. And that's the truth right now. Because you can pull up data and show that there's no houses on the market that have been on the market for 30 days unless they're way overpriced. That is the only answer, or they're falling down. Rapatoni's the easiest. If you want a quick answer, you can go in. They do 90% of the work for you. The RPR, the RPR. That I knew what she was meaning. The MLS is better in the long run, but it's a lot more. Unless you know what you're doing, it's a lot more work. I always suggest this too. If you're going on an appointment, I would Zillow the address. So I would Google the address. I would look at what Zillow has. Redfin will have an offer because it's not live. Once the house goes live, Zillow estimate goes away. But the reason I say to do that is because your client has already looked at that number. There is nobody in America that calls you and says they have no idea what their house is worth. Zillow has made it so easy. And I do it as an agent. I'm like, I wonder what my house is worth today. And I know what my house is worth. You know what I mean? Like I know what I could put a sale sign on my house for and list it and everything else. But I want to know what the public thinks it's worth. So that being said, and Zillow has changed a lot. It used to be way over. Now the logarithm has came down because they're not buying and selling houses anymore. They're just doing the logarithm of selling. Back when it was getting crazy and the interest rates were low, they were buying 7 or 8 houses in the neighborhood, and then the 8th house they were jacking it up. They got sued for that.
The house I lived in, it was a Zillow house, and then somebody else. Yeah.
So ways that you can also learn and be a market expert, which is what this is really kind of about. Contact your lenders. Your guys' lending is Ruoff, who or Jennifer Shield, right? Who does PC Coaching use?
Oh, I use that. We all use different.
Okay, so you should get with them, find out their stuff. Are we done?
No,
Oh.
we have.
Okay, that's all right. Bye. Well, he should have changed it. He's the one that made you come to it. I know, but I'm just saying it. Okay, I got you. I'll beat his door down later. It should be. Yeah, it's being taped. It'll be on the YouTube channel. For sure. So economic factors play an important role in an agent's understanding of the market. What is the employment, unemployment rate in your market? How many workers are entering or exiting your workforce in your market? What is the growth rate of your community? Has the government made any changes to rules or regulations that might affect the housing market? Sometimes that's free money, right? I know there was a lot going on Facebook with the HUD where they granted $600,000 and it was first come, first serve. So if you had your buyers in with the lender that had the money, they were able to get it. I saw someone got $20,000. So those are programs that if you're well connected with one lender or a few lenders, they might be able to give you more access to that information. And again, that just connects you at another level with your buyers to say, hey, I have a lender that's got money right now that they've not given away yet. Would you like to contact them and see if you can get approved? People are tendencies when it comes to you trying to get them pre-approved. They don't want people to know their credit. They don't want people to know their situations or whatever. So it's our job to make it as stress-free as possible and just see. And sometimes they're not going to be able to buy. But your job is to help them get to a point where they can buy in 6 months or a year or whatever. And that again is connected, right? It's like no different than calling somebody out of the blue 8 months ago or 8 months. You haven't talked to them in 8 months and talk to them now. So lean on us as the top agents, lean on your lenders, lean on our affiliates that can move the needle. One deal is one deal, right? And sometimes one deal turns into 3 deals and then now you're rolling. And I'm not trying to make this sound like it's really that simple. It's simple, it's not easy. Because if you don't do anything, you're not going to get it. It's not easy. Like, it's not just going to fall in your lap. You might get lucky and someone might call you and say, hey, I want to buy a house. But if you're not doing the baby steps of getting consecutive or repeat work, it's just going to be hard to float. Go ahead. She was first. Go ahead, Mary. Yep. Not beggars, bankers, right? Here's the easiest way I do this. When people ask me the interest rate, I say I'm not a lender. And they go, well, why you're a real estate agent? Why don't you follow it? I said, because it doesn't matter to me what the interest rate is. Well, why doesn't it matter? It matters to you as the client. And the interest rate doesn't matter to you because if you need to buy or sell a house because you've grown or lost or got a divorce or someone died or whatever the case may be, the interest rate doesn't matter. It's the payment, right? So if your payment, you want it to be $2,000 a month, guess what? You're buying a 250, maybe $300,000 house if you have enough money to put down, right? So the interest rate as an agent for me, I know enough to get myself in trouble. Meaning that is my exact conversation. I tell them exactly that. I am by no means a real estate or a lender. I don't follow it. I know enough to get myself in trouble. The last I heard the other day, it was like 6.7. And you could be completely off, but as long as you're off over and it comes down, you still look like you know what you're talking about. So if you don't know it at all, don't say an answer. Just say, I don't follow that. Do you have a lender that you can reach out to? Because in reality, it kind of what matters more to me as an agent for you is what you want your payment to be. And I don't mean to say that to sound like it's a car. You're not making a car deal, right? You don't want your client to come to you and go, I want to spend $2,500 because you still don't know what that is either, right? You want them to find out from the lender, this is their approval letter. And then I go one step further with my buyers. I just did this with Austin, the guy that reached out to me. In their head, they think they want a $400,000 house. And I say, okay, that's great. Give me 3 zip codes that you want to look at for $400,000 houses. And I'm going to give you a 350, and 400 payment from Craig on those 3 zip codes. Because your payment could be $2,400 and your taxes be $400 a month and your payment's $3,000. And if you're not comfortable with a $3,000 payment, guess what? Your $400,000 house isn't happening. You might have to buy a $300,000 house in that zip code. So now it matters the zip code on what you can look at or not. That's why I don't care what their pre-approval is. You could be pre-approved for $1 million, but if you're not comfortable with a $7,000 payment, we got to look at houses that are in your price range. I don't care that you're up $1 million because we're not looking at $1 million house and you offer 800 because you're not going to win. We're not in that market. So you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. So that's why I say if you tell me you want $400,000 and you're approved for 700, I never send you a $700,000 house. You have to ask me to increase that. And then I verify with the lender that they're able to afford that price difference. There's no economic factors that say that there's anything going to be extravagant, um, or way crazy. They said 2025 is going to be much like 2024. So 4.1 to 4.4 million houses sold. Here's what I can tell you. Every day someone buys and every day someone sells a house. You just have to get in front of the people that are doing those things. It will happen. It's just not happening as fast as they want it to. Inflation's still crazy. They can't reduce. What happens is when you reduce the interest rates, buying continues, so inflation continues to go up. That inflation works backwards, meaning if something is X amount of dollars, right, and everyone can afford it, that now increases the price of X because everyone's buying it. We're still selling houses and interest rates are 6.5% or 7%. Nothing's changed. When inflation comes down to where it's even and interest rates reduce, nothing happens. It doesn't create chaos because everyone's already buying or selling or doing whatever they want to do. We're in a weird year this year. I think once all the dust settles and both sides calm down, that's what's going to have to happen. I mean, if you get into politics the crazy way, we went through 4 years and nothing happened, nothing extravagant happened, right? The last 4 years before we were in this one. The years before that, nothing crazy happened. We had COVID, which to this date was the dumbest thing that's ever been applied or denied or whatever, however you want to look at it. But those were the factors that were there. I mean, unless we go into World War III, which no country really wants to do that. Russia doesn't want to do that. China doesn't want to do that. Nobody wants that. I don't think things change. So like Peter said up here, we had 4.4 million sales or 4.1. I think they're increasing it to 4.4. That's the average. We've not been any lower than 4 million sales since like 2007 or 8. And that was like 3.8. So all I can say is do the small things that get you in front of people that want to buy or sell and connect with your market. Part of this class is telling you to do the things that make you a professional real estate agent, right? So if you're newer to this industry, less than 3 years, right? I would pick a zip code and I would learn something new every day in that zip code. Restaurant, shops, businesses, health facilities, gyms, neighborhoods that are in that zip code or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, if you can have a conversation about one zip code, you'll be able to utilize that with other zip codes when you do it. So you're learning your job, kind of like writing the contract every day for 50 days. At some point, you writing the contract is going to help you because you'll be able to do the contract in 20 minutes. And you might be the first one in on a property that first in means something, right? Where if you've not practiced writing and you don't know what you're doing and it takes you 2 hours to write your first real contract, you might have missed out. So that's why I'm saying it's really important to like the fun part of this job is the lead generation, but it's also the scariest because you got to talk to people. But at the end of the day, if you don't know what you are doing after you've talked to the people, you kind of missed the thing. You're putting the cart before the horse. So we want you to be consistent in lead genning because at the end of the day, that's the hardest skill to learn. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying practice on your. I'm not saying practice on anybody. I'm saying you write a contract, like same way with the listing, assisting and buyer's agreement. You should fill those buyer's agreements out and you should fill those listing agreements out to where in the back of your head, it's just automatic what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, if you can't sit down and have a conversation about what you're making them sign, they're probably not going to sign. And part of that's your commission. Why do I got to give you 3%? You don't even know what the hell you're telling me to write. So that's why the practice, it just makes it easier. It's kind of like script play, conversations, right? If you sit in with Chad's meetings or whatever, they script play or they go over how they're going to converse with a certain expireds or your sphere of influence or whatever. Because every time you write it down and every time you talk to somebody that's not a client, you're learning how to present that better to where it's not a robot, but you're having a natural conversation and it just sounds professional. That's all you're doing is getting to the point where it just comes off your mouth or out of your mouth as second nature or first nature. You really want it to be first nature, right? When someone asks you about the market, you don't want to bobble around and figure it out and yeah, exactly. You just want to know some talking points. So the more you practice, the more it is. Same way with just saying this about the restaurants and all that stuff. The more you know about the community and someone asks you a question about the community, it's just verifying to them that you're the professional real estate agent. We're not going to do ahas because we kind of went off topic. So I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but yes. If you love door knocking, then door knock. Why does it matter how long it takes? Well, wasn't it effective because you're walking the wrong neighborhoods? But that's what I'm saying. Like, so you have to do the homework. You've got to figure out what I tell people to do when they're door knocking a neighborhood. I would start in your neighborhood because people want to know you and they should know that you're an agent that live in your neighborhood. But your neighborhood might not be a good neighborhood to do like for an agent that's not living in the neighborhood because if you look at last year's sales and that neighborhood sold 4 houses and there's 500 houses in the neighborhood, there's not enough turnover going on to where it's going to go that way. Now, switch that and let's say you do the numbers and there's a neighborhood that has 100 houses and 12 sold last year. That's 12%. What I also tell agents to do is then go into those 12 sales and see how many agents sold those 12 houses. If one agent sold all 12 houses, don't go there because they're not going to use you. If the neighborhood had 12 agents and 12 sales, now you know that you can go in there and you have a fighting chance to get 1 or 2 or 3, and then you become the neighborhood real estate agent. So you can't just randomly throw a dart at a neighborhood and say, I'm going to go door knock that if you don't know what you're door knocking. Like my neighborhood, I door knock, I hand out American flags for 4th of July and all that stuff, but it's more for just as a community than it is to try and get anything, because once they're in Mason, they don't move. No one's moving in my neighborhood. I got lucky, my neighbor's moving, and I got his listing right at the end of April or the end of March. But that's because I've known him, I've played cards with him, I've done everything, and they don't know any other agent. So I got the luck of the draw on that. And whoever wanted to be in that neighborhood didn't do what they were supposed to do. But one in and one out. It's not like 7 will go up in my neighborhood, because once they're there, especially now, because I bought my house at $285,000 and we're listing my neighbor's house for 630. Yeah, but I mean, but once a family is in there, they if they love the school district and they're not growing family, there's no reason to move, because you're moving laterally, you're not moving up. You'll just move to a different neighborhood, but you're not buying a bigger house or a better house or anything else. You're probably paying more for the same house. So that's why I'm saying, if you love door knocking, which it sounds to me, because that's the first time I've seen you smile. When you talk about calling, you don't like it. I mean, I'm just being honest. So if you love door knocking and you like being interconnected that way, then by all means door knock, but do your research to make sure that the hours that you're putting in door knocking is the most comprehensive way of doing it, the most efficient way. But you can't door knock one day and then wait a month and door knock another. That doesn't count either. That you might as well make phone calls. So if you're gonna do whatever you want to do, it needs to be something that you can do every day for at this point, door knock for 30 minutes. Pick 5 neighborhoods a week and door knock for 30 minutes. Yeah. That's more phone that you're gonna door knock. You're either gonna do it or you're not. I mean, I could say call for 30 minutes a day and you'll sit in that room and you won't make one phone call. Plus, you're getting out and walking. So it's a way of being fit. So who cares? But the problem is when it's raining, you're going to make an excuse that it's raining, or it's cold, it's snowy, it's this, it's that, it's everything else. Just like I told Ashley, all she made was excuses. She can go to TJ Maxx and buy a decent outfit to go stand on the porch of somebody that hasn't sold their house. You just don't want to because you're afraid of being told no. Who cares? Mhm. Mhm. She's trying to make it work. She doesn't care if she's told no. And it may not show up tomorrow, right? But if you do it every day consecutively, you will be farther along than you were when you started with 0. You got to remember 0 is 0. 1 is better than 0, right? And if you get 1, you can get multiple ones if you do what we teach you to do, right? If you get 1 listing, you should go and door knock that neighborhood so that you're listing, because history says that if one house lists, 1 or 2 more in the neighborhood will list within 60 days. If you're not doing it, the agent that's hungry is doing it. So you might as well do it. Like that's why I say you won't have me sit up here and say just make phone calls, because I hate making cold calls. Now, I don't think my phone is cold calls. There's a difference. A cold call is somebody you have never spoke to before. Land voice calls, Red X, any of that stuff, or expires. You've never contacted those people ever in your life and you're calling them. That's a cold call. Calling Miss Smith because you haven't talked to her in 10 years, that's not a cold call. That's a relationship call. Do you see the difference? They know you. to if you're tracking your numbers, a legit conversation is not a dial. A legit conversation is we've spoke and we've talked about real estate. If you called just to see, like, say somebody was in the, let's say you were on Facebook today and you saw one of your friends was in the hospital and you called and you knew for a fact that you were not going to mention anything about real estate. You were just calling to check in to make sure she was okay. That's a wellness call. You could track that as like, hey, I called this person and it's a touch point, but it's not a generation of money conversation. Then if you're making a cold call, it's a conversation for you to be selling real estate. You're not just calling some random stranger to ask if they've been in the hospital. That's weird, right? So if you're calling because they have a for sale by owner house or they were on your website or whatever, that's a cold call and that's you want to instantly make that a conversation about selling real estate. Leave a voicemail. That doesn't count that counts as a contact, not as a conversation. So if you're tracking it, you really want to make 100 contacts and 20 conversations. So you want to make 100 phone calls and try to talk to 20 people. If you're trying to get one or two a month as far as deals go. And you can backwards engineer that. That's why when they do the 411 and they tell you, what do you want your income to be for the year? You know, most people say, well, I would like to make $100,000. All right. Well, you take $100,000 and you reverse engineer that backwards. What's the average sale in your area? $250,000. Okay. So if you take $200,000, right? And we're going to say that you make 3%, your average commission is $6,000. So then you take $100,000 and divide that by 6,000, and that's 16. We really have to sell 17 because it's 16.7 and you can't sell a half a house, right? So if you sell 17 $200,000 houses at 3%, you will get $100,000. So that's one a month. That's a little over one a month. Yep. So then you got to make your numbers equate to, typically it's in your phone, we say 8%. So however many contacts you have in your phone, let's make this easy. Let's say there's 100 contacts on your phone. That's 8 deals. If you contacted all 100 people throughout the year, it should equate to 8 deals a year. And that's email, text messages, phone conversations, events, whatever you want to do. So now you got to build your expertise in this. Learn the market. We've hammered this a lot. Learn your clientele. I think making the avatar, were you in here when I said make the avatar? So the avatar is who you want to market to. So when I first started this, I created Chris, who was a gym person that was 30 to 40 years old, that had a family of at least 2 kids and wanted to move up in their housing journey. So they might be in a 3-bedroom, but they want a 4-bedroom with an office or whatever. And price points probably, because I live in Mason, between $400,000 and $800,000. So when you create that avatar, that makes all of your marketing towards that person. So that's who you're wanting to help. So you're solving problems, kind of like I said with the carpet cleaners, right? Carpet cleaners were giving 40% off to wash your carpets, right? To clean your carpets. They hired this sales rocket company to do the thing, and they said, we're not going to tell people that they need to clean their carpets and give them a deal. We're going to make them wonder why it's a good idea to clean their carpets. So they created a copy that said, do you want to reduce the flu in your house? And you click on it, or how to reduce the flu in your house. And you click on it and it says 85% of the households that have their carpets cleaned once a year take away the flu virus for the year. And it increased their sales by like 1,000% because they weren't they weren't hitting the people that were selling or wanting their carpets clean. They were hitting more because people, exactly. And that's why when you create that avatar, you're creating the solution for your marketing is creating the solution for that person or that group of whoever you want to do, as opposed to just one person, like one set of people. Listen to individuals and keep headlines in the text. Yeah. Yeah. So your marketing should say how to become a real estate investor while renting. But you have to study and know the answers to the questions that they're going to ask. So then you take your avatar farther and write the questions that they may have. And if you don't know those questions, you have to reach out to somebody that does know those questions and can give you an answer. And then that's how you do it. Young kids that have a decent job that are renting and paying 15, 16, $1,700 a month rent, they can buy and do house hacking and have 4 roommates because they're already used to having roommates. If I got divorced today, there's no way in God's green earth I would rent. I would rent and have a roommate. I've had a roommate for 12 years, but she's my wife. You see what I'm saying? Like I would never go backwards. But if you're geared towards young people that are renting, that have maybe just got out of college, they lived with 3 guys in college or whatever, they're used to it. So now the easy thing is hey, dude, why would you not want to own the house and have roommates pay you and you live for free? Do it for 4 years and the house is that you'll be able to sell the house or keep it and buy your next house. So that is a great niche if that's what you would want to do, but you got to know the answers to the questions, which means you need to figure out the questions, and then your marketing is towards that. The first one is like I said, how to become an investor while renting. People think that they have to, they have to have a lot of money to do it. Not always. As long as they can have a good credit and can afford the house, there's different ways that the payments can be structured that it's not. Yeah. Okay. If most of your people in your phone are in that area, I would do that area because your conversations are going to be about that area. The reason that I say pick a zip code that in this case that you're comfortable with is because at least you're going to do it. You're doing the steps to make it easier for places that you don't know, right? So like if you know all about Springdale, right? Like everything about it, all the restaurants, everything else. And I come to you and say, hey, I think me and you work good together. I want to buy a house and I want it to be in Blue Ash. Well, you already know the steps that you've used at Springdale to get to Blue Ash. What's up? Probably, I don't know, 20 minutes. We started 20 minutes late because nobody was in here. Why? Do you have the room for your growth committee? Okay. I'll have it. I'll be out of here. we'll make it happen. So take grassroots approach, learn where your spirit gets their information and be present. That's again, this is connecting. So if you have the answers to the real estate questions that these people are in your sphere are asking, they're going to come to you for a question, right? I'm at the gym every day and I always get somebody to ask me how the market is. And I'm trained to say, it's great if you got to buy, it's bad if you don't want to buy. And they look at me and they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, depending on your situation, if you have to buy a house, then it's good because there's some inventory. And right now, houses are selling at or a little below listing price. If you're a seller and you were selling in the winter months, if you didn't have to sell, it was a bad time because you were going to probably take less money. So as long as you're honest with them and telling them what the market is, it is that it is. Now, when they ask, well, is it a seller's market? That's yes and no, but people aren't going crazy over, right? Like 3 years ago, you could put a sign in the yard and put $25,000 for a paper box, and people were buying it. Like they just didn't care. And some would have multiple offers. So you just got to know enough to explain to them what's going on, and then let them lead the conversation. Well, why do you ask that? Are you trying to downsize? Are you moving jobs? Do you want to buy an investment property? Do you want to buy a vacation home? What are your goals? And then once you have that, that's like finding the pain point. That's like I told Ashley, when she goes to that $1 million house, why was your house for sale? Well, we want to do this, or this. Okay, well, one of the questions in there is, well, how did you and the agent before you come to this price? And then you let them explain. Do you owe a lot of money on this house? Does this number mean that you're going to make enough money to do the thing that you want to do? Or are you just trying to hit a grand slam? So once you find, Peter Chabris calls it pain points. Our job as an agent on the buying or the selling side is to find out our client's pain point, which is why they're doing something as opposed not to. So why are they buying or why are they selling? Right? If your goal as a grandparents as to sell your house and move to South Carolina to be closer to your grandkids, price is probably not a problem. You want time. You want it done now. So you hit on that pain point. Hey, your house is between 400 and 450. I think if we list at 415, we have a better shot of making you more money. But ultimately, we have a shot of being under contract by the end of the weekend, which puts you at your place in South Carolina by this date. And you write the date and circle it. This is what you want. You want to be there before Christmas. You want to be there for their birthday. You want to be there or here or whatever. Sometimes it's, well, I'm changing jobs and I need to have my house, or I need to be in Texas next week. Well, we can't go for a grand slam and try to get the most money because we don't have time on our side for that. So that's finding the pain point. Peter Chabris calls it pain point. Why they're selling or why they're buying. A family of 4 that lives in a 2-bedroom house that had twins, they need more room. Their pain point is, we want to find a house that has 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms or whatnot. So you got to keep the headlines in context. Right now, like I said, we're very politicized. Doesn't mean you have to have a political conversation, but somebody's going to ask, well, what do you think the market's going to do because Donald Trump won? What do you think the market's going to do because Biden lost? What do you think the market's going to do because we're in a war that's never going to end? What do this, that, or anything else? When they ask those opinions, don't give your opinion on the situation, give your opinion on the real estate factor. And I always say, there's always a house that buys and sells every day of the week. 365 days a year. We sold 4 million houses across the country last year as real estate agents. We'll My job is to get you the best price at the best offer with the best contingencies on both sides. That conversation doesn't change. My job is on the seller side is to get you the best price with the least amount of stress and your time frame. The buying side, my job is to get you the best price with the as much with as fast the closing as we can and get you in the place that you love with the less stress. My go-to line is I don't sell houses, I sell the process. Yeah, you don't sell houses. Even on the selling side, you don't sell the house. You're not you're not going to a buyer and giving them the features and benefits of the house and then selling it. You're selling your client the process that makes it this is the most stressful purchase or selling of their lives because it's their number one asset 90% of the time, whether they're buying it or selling it. So if you can reduce the stress by being very communicative, letting them know what their expectations are after every step, right? Mr. Buyer, when we go under contract, you have 3 days to get me an earnest money check. Are you okay with writing? And that's why your presentations, if you don't know them or memorize them and you don't have them written down, you should make that should be one of the things that you do before you start trying to get clients, because that's going to streamline your conversation and make you sound like you're organized and know what you're doing, even if you don't. Right? Like if you have professional stuff in front of you that's doing it makes it easier. Utilize resources. So we have the app, KW Command. Command is integrated. We have AI integration now. All you have to do is ask it a question and it'll do it. I would get so used to Command that it is second nature. I would spend a lot of time on this because the more people you get in your database that you don't have all of the stuff that you need, you realize it's more of a pain in the rear end to go backwards and get the stuff that you need. So like if you have a conversation with somebody and they're interested at all of buying or selling, you want their name, their phone number, their email address, and then throw in an anniversary, or if they're married, throw in an anniversary or a birthday. Because then that's touch points that when you realize later on, like, damn, I need to know that guy's birthday. Now, birthdays are easy because they're mostly in Facebook. So even if you're not a friend on Facebook, you can type in their name and like Facebook stalk them and see if their birthday's there. 99% of the time, their birthday is posted. Some of them aren't, but most are. And if they are, you just put that date in there. You may not know how old they are, but the age doesn't matter. It's a touch point. It's a happy birthday card, a happy birthday phone call, a happy birthday, whatever, post on Facebook or whatever the case may be. But the more information you get on the initial conversation, the easier it is to set up to be able to touch these people 48 times. See, that's what I'm saying. And if Keller Command will tell you their birthdays. So like when you log on to Command and you have it in their contact like sheet, it will say you have 14 birthdays this month, one this week. And you click on that birthday thing and it will show you whose birthday it is and it will tell you the day. So if you do that at the beginning of the month and you send birthday cards out for the month, nobody cares that they're getting a birthday card for whatever. It is what it is. Establish your business on social media. You should always like 10 posts, write 5 comments, and send 1 direct message a day. So like 10 posts, you go through your friends list and like 10 posts that are personal. And I would make them random. I wouldn't go down the line of 10. I would like sit down for like 10 minutes and actually read the post and like it. You write 5 comments on 10 of those posts. So like if someone says, hey, I got a new job today, write congratulations, I'm proud of you, blah, 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 whatever. Or, make it as personal as you can. Don't just copy and paste what it is. You know what I mean? Like don't use the automatic whatever Facebook tells you to write. And then one direct message to a friend on Facebook. What? It is. It's both. But you also want to engage with your people. You want people to engage on yours because that gets you known. But if everyone's liking your stuff and you're not doing anything, it's kind of backwards, right? So that's why I'm saying like I wouldn't just go down the line and do 10 random. I would do posts that you care about. Like look at your real friends, like the people that you communicate with on a regular and see what's going on in their lives. And then if you hit 10, that's great. If you hit 8, then go find 2 random people that you've never talked to but are friends of yours. We all have friends on Facebook that we don't know. And then comment or do something or direct message somebody that you haven't talked to in a while. Say, hey, I'm just reaching out, saw that you had XYZ event happen on Facebook. Hoping everything's all right. Let me know. Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. You can share to your group or whatever, but the people that are in your group is what you want to do the likes and comments to. That's why I'm saying I just wouldn't do random posts. Like a like is a like, regardless of if you go down the line and do 10. But if it's people that you actually interact with and see on a regular basis, they're gonna see that you liked it, and then you're gonna make comments on those. Like even if you make 10 comments, let's say you pick the 10 posts that you want to make like and you make 10 comments. That's not it. You don't have to do 5. But what it's saying is that if you do 10 likes, you want to do 5 comments on the things that are important. Like if someone said, oh, I just fell and broke my leg. Life sucks right now. That would be one that you would want to comment on. You go, hey, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Do you need me to stop by and bring you a bag of groceries or whatever? Not meaning you have to go and buy their groceries. They'll pay you. You know what I mean? Like, but the thought is there. Most people are going to say, hell no, I don't need you to buy my groceries. I'm okay. But they were like, remember that you did it. Or if someone graduated college, their grandson graduated college. Hey, just wanted to come on here and say congratulations. That's awesome. Man, we're getting old. We have grandkids that are out of college. You know what I mean? You're just meeting and interacting with those people. Here's the success system right here. Number of 10. They want you to have 10 conversations and 10 contacts added, 10 hidden written notes, 10, 5, 1 social media engagement, and enrichments. Now the enrichments are back here. That show you might want to take a picture of this. Well, actually, the slides are online. You don't need it. Study your market center report, preview homes, take MLS, visit NOPA houses, study the lore language of real estate, read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and then anything else that you can do, which is study your zip codes. Right here, this is it. Read this. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship. This is what Michelle gets hung up on. She thinks she's harassing her friends. There is no friend that you've ever called that said, oh, I don't want to hear from you. Because if that's the case, they're not your friend. So erase them out of your phone.
We're not role playing. Do you need this computer or are you using this? I think we're done. I don't know if, I don't think anyone was up there.